Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Deez. This is my workshop. We're going to go through some new tools. I wanted to purchase a few things for the tooling for the mill, the lathe, and just a workshop overall. I've been getting into some different projects and realizing it'd be a little easier if I had certain types of tools to get through some of those projects. So, like always, I like to share everything I'm working on in the workshop, and I'm going to bring you down here and show you what we picked up. And we'll see those in future project videos. So the first thing, we'll just open this small thing here. We have, well, I'll show you here. We picked up, hopefully, this is what we wanted. Well, it's sealed up. But we have a slitting saw arbor. Now, I was looking at the different styles. There's some that are super long, and I think that's for different lengths, especially if you're using like a horizontal mill. I don't have that, but I ended up getting a slitting saw arbor that's R8, so I could mount it in the lathe. I'm only going to have so much depth. You know, this isn't going to stick down 12 inches or anything like that. I don't want anything like that, but I did want to be able to cut a slot in certain projects. Specifically, if you think about, you know, making a clamp or some sort of style that will go over round bar, and then you can put a through hole and thread the bottom portion of that, put a cap head screw, let's say. You slit the side of it, and then when you clamp that down, it's just going to lock onto whatever round material that you have. I've got some projects that I want to work on, and that's kind of a fastening mechanism that I want to be able to use. And so a slitting saw is something I wanted to pick up and start experimenting with and practicing, using, and use for some of those projects. Let's see, it came with a blade, a saw blade. Came with a blade, 63 millimeter by 1 millimeter by 16 millimeter. You know, I wasn't looking for anything specific, just something to be able to do some slotting with. And in addition to that, I think I picked up a larger blade that I think will work. It may not work. The hole's different, so these may not work, but these things were really cheap. I think I paid $8 for 2 of them. But I want to see if I can use these. I don't know a whole lot about these, so I just wanted to grab a few more. There's 2 blades in here. I want to see if I can mount those in here as well. And they're larger as well. We've got a slotting saw, and we're going to use that in future projects. So there's plenty of oil inside this thing. So let's make sure we wipe that off. I mean, at least I'll give it to them. They don't want it to rust. So that's good. R8 slitting saw. And I went with I know they make arbors that, you know, have all kinds of attachments, so you can really, you know, get where you need to go, but I just wanted a simple slitting arbor. So hopefully it's a little universal and it's not set to just one size slitting saw hole, but we'll find out. It did come with an Allen wrench. Get that out of here. Let's take the screw out of here and see what we're looking at. There we go. Pretty simple. It's a chamfered screw. Didn't get oil down inside there. Not that it's rusty, but okay, here we go. Okay, it is universal. This is good. This is what I was hoping for. A little bit of, I wouldn't say it's rust. I guess yeah, maybe that's rust. Fortunately, it's not terrible. It wipes right off, but down inside here, It's either that or dark oil, but it probably got some moisture in there. Oh, it's more red. So we got, this is a slitting saw that came with it. And I went ahead and purchased 2 really cheap slitting saws as well. I thought, you know, they were $8, I think, for 2 of them, a little larger. Let's take one of these larger ones out and see if it fits. We know the smaller one would fit because it was included. So this is high-speed steel. It's got a marking in it. I think they were 7mm by 1/2 millimeter. Yeah, I believe that's what they were. But if this works well, this should fit in one of those slots. And it does. I'm really happy about that. Okay. Good deal. We'll spin that way. And we have our mount. Let's put that on there. And it will center it up because it's got that groove. Excellent. I can't wait to try this. I've got, I want to make a bracket where I can actually screw clamp something onto another cylinder, basically. And I wanted to be able to slit the side of it in order to create a space where I can then screw it together and clamp it down. Very nice. So this will accommodate a handful, 3 or 4 different sizes of arbor saws. If you look, you can see the 2 differences here. I think this one's 5. They're both high-speed steel, but this one is 63mm by, so that'd be its circumference, by 1mm by 16mm. This one is 70, I think it's 70mm by 1/2. Very good. We got that cleaned up. We're ready for use. Need to be careful with that. It'll cut you. And I can't wait to give that a try. All right, the next thing we got here. Actually, we'll do that one last since we have this case here. Let's see what's in here. Some trash. Now, this is, I wanted to pick these up because I've been working on different projects where I have been working with drilling more precise holes and things like that. And so I wanted to pick up a pin gauge set. So here's one that I got, and they're all individually wrapped so that they don't rust. But this is a 290 piece set, or a 190 piece set, I believe. And it goes all the way down from 0.61 all the way up to 1/4 inch. I needed to start somewhere, there's so many of these different types of sets out there that you can purchase. I wanted to pick something up and have some sort of reference. I don't have a really good set of reference material for my precision tooling, for the metrology side of things, and this is going to help me be able to try to hone in and hit certain bore marks and things like that. Now, I know these are small. There's certainly much larger versions of this, but you got to start somewhere. Now we have those. We'll go through these and inspect them and make sure everything's okay, but for the most part, I'm just happy to have some sort of reference material that we can use from time to time as we're working on projects. Let's get these pin gauges taken out of their wax paper, their oil paper, and get them cleaned up. If I didn't mention it before, I don't think I did. This is actually a minus set. I'm no expert here, but I know there's a plus and a minus set, and I don't know if the error of the measurement of those are erring on the low side or the high side. I'm assuming that's what that means. But let's get some towels and start cleaning these up. Well, that's kind of a pain taking all that off, but at least they package it well. You know, this off-brand cheapo set. Nothing's rusted, everything's marked. They're laser etched, so you got to use magnifying glass for some of them, but you can find out what they are and put them back in order. The case is a little bit loose, but I kind of like the plastic case better than just a foam insert only. So let's just do a quick measure, and we'll call this thing ready to go. This should be 250 thou. And it's 250 thou. And let's check just the one below, 249, 248 and a half. So they are well, there we go, 249. So they are minus pins. Let's move on up to one of these smaller ones. Let's do the 100 thou. Make sure we got the oil off of it. 99 and a half. So it's about a half thou under. I suppose that's what the minus pins mean. Here's the 99, 98 and a half. Interesting. So 232. Well, that one's spot on. So I don't know if that's an accuracy issue or if that's how these minus pins are supposed to work. I'll do some research on that. This one's a 64, so it seems like the smaller pins are, if you don't, I mean, you can, they read what they are, but just a slight, they're under. I guess that's what the minus pin's all about. Interesting. Let's use a mic on this one here. 250. And that is 250, 249, and 6/10. So I think these are truly minus pins. Go ahead and comment what you know about these. I know there's a lot of people that really know what all this stuff means and all that. But these again are minus size pins. So I believe that just means they're just slightly on the smaller side of what they read. So there they are, cleaned up, ready for use. Got all that wax paper off, and now we're ready to go. And lastly, we have another box. What do we get? So this looks very similar to this. So this is what I picked up before, and I've been using this, and they work great, and it's, in my opinion, it's something that you really need to have if you're working with a vise and a mill, and that is a set of parallels. Now, the only thing with these is, with some of the projects I'm working on, when I'm drilling a through hole, these things are a little thicker. So I wanted to add a set of thin parallels to the workshop. So here is a 20-piece set of thin parallels, and they range, there's quite a few of them in here, but these are much thinner, as you can tell, than the original ones. Let's take a look at one of these. They're packaged very nicely as far as keeping the rust and whatnot off, and I need to clean them up, waxy coating on them, but you can see that these are much thinner than the other ones. So now I have some options if I'm trying to work on something a little more precise, and I need to be able to work closer to the edges of whatever project that I'm working on. Let's see if I can get that out of there. There we go. So there's one of them. I certainly need to clean them up. Oiled up very nicely, but they're very thin. They're supposed to be matched pairs, and these are going to be very useful as I work on different projects. So I'm really happy to have these to add to my abilities and options when I'm working on different projects. Let's go ahead and put that back in there. We'll go through these, clean them up. All right, let's go ahead and check these out a little bit closer. I unboxed them. Now let's look at these thin parallels. They've all got that wax paper on them, which is great for shipping, but let's try to get all that cleaned off, and then these things will be ready for use. So there's quite a few pairs in here. The reason I wanted these was I've been working on some projects where I have a narrow gap or a workpiece, and drilling a hole through those, I run the risk of hitting my larger parallels. So I wanted a set of thin parallels to complement the tools for the mill. Let's start taking these apart. Okay, there's one set. It's a lot like a grease that's on this paper. Very good for storage and shipping, but I'm not gonna be able to, I don't want to mess with that as I need to use them. I just want to get all this off of there. So let's get at it. One thing that I've noticed, and maybe that's normal with these, is they aren't actually marked as to their width. So, I mean, I know I can measure them to find out how thick they are, but it's not really not that big a deal. I usually go by whatever makes the most sense with what I'm working on, but these just seem to be some sort of precision steel that's ground parallel with the two pieces. But anyway, it's interesting. Let's keep going. Well, there you go. This is the thin set of parallels that I have. Their width is 1/32, I think. Let's double check. 320 thou, or 32 thou thick. 32 thou is 32 thou is a little over 1/32, but these are 1/32 width, according to what I purchased, width parallels of varying thicknesses. This one here goes all the way up to 1.11/16", I believe. They are not marked. 1 inch, 700 thou, 690 thou. So these will be pretty handy for when you're working on something that you need to maybe drill a hole through and you just don't have the clearance that you need. There are a couple spots that you can feel that with your fingernail. I'm going to have to use a stone, I think, and repair that. But these were cheap. I like everything else. There's enough variety in here. There's good pairs. This is going to be just fine for what I need it for. And I'm pretty happy to have it and be able to add it to the tooling options that I have to complement the mill. We got a nice pin gauge set, we've got a slitting saw, and we added some thin parallels to the tooling. I hope you enjoyed. Let's get on to that next task. Well, everybody, let's inspect this 3-jaw It's got some nicks and dings and stuff. That's not a big deal to me, but it really is kind of crunchy right now. The last time I used it, I must have chips and swarth in there. You can see that actually quite well. So let's take this thing apart and clean this up. Get this stuff out of the way. See when I back these off, it just keeps getting hung up. There's definitely chips or debris in here. So we're just going to take it apart and clean it up. There's number 2. Number 1, and there is number 3. There we go. So you can really see a lot of debris in there. We need to get this cleaned up. You can already see it falling out of there. So how these are held in, there's little screws here that there's a little detent when these things spin, and it keeps them from coming out. So we're going to go ahead and take these out. See, that's like a pin that keeps these, it's like a keeper pin. Side. And you can see this will come out of there then. I don't believe these are specific to where they get inserted, but yeah, there's really a lot of debris in here. We want to get this cleaned up. So this ring comes out of there. And this is where the jaws thread actually onto. So if you've never taken one apart or seen the inside of one of these, that's your basic components there. And chips and swarth and things get down in there and cause it to bind up. Some of these are actually sealed on the back. Not this one. This is what came with the lathe. Not surprising, but overall it's made decent enough. It works well, but it's been time that we get this thing apart, clean it up. So now it's time to get these chips out of it, blow it out, and then clean it up. I'm going to use some Scotch-Brite this time. All right, we have all of the swath and the chips and everything blown out of these. So if we put this back together, it would probably move pretty well. I'll do a little bit of lubricant. I don't think you want to put like heavy grease in these because that would attract chips and then they would get crammed in there. They wouldn't be able to fall out or shift, and that could cause excessive wear, I think. So we won't use grease, but I will use some oil. But before we get to reassembling this thing, I think I want to try to clean up some of this just light surface rust. It's getting a little humid. The seasons are changing, so let's go ahead and see what we can do with that. I have some Scotch-Brite. Give it a quick clean up before we put it back together. Blow that out with some air, and I think that's good to go. We can reassemble this thing. Okay, now we got the jaws cleaned up. So they need to go in a specific order. Here's one, and it's possible that there's a particular slot they're supposed to go in, but this particular 3-jaw chuck does not indicate that whatsoever. So I'm just gonna go 1, like I said, I'll probably get this wrong, 1, 2, and 3. It's a little easier in the lathe, I find, to get them going, but it really just depends if you get them in the right slot. So let's see how we did. And you can kind of cheat and measure. At this point, they should be about a 1/2 inch each. I think I'm already off, but let's see. Yep. See, when you get them wrong, they won't close all the way. So I think what I'll do is flip-flop them. So I'll do 1, 2, 3. Do that around. So there's one there. We'll do 1, 2, 3. You want to put a little oil in here too. Some of you may say I shouldn't be doing this, but I think, you know, you got metal on metal. I think it helps with the friction, and for my little shop, I think it's just fine. So 1, 2, and 3. Let's try it this way. About a 1/2 inch. About a 1/2 inch. About a 1/2 inch. Let's see how we did. There we go. Now they should close all the way together. There we go. So there it is. So it's actually, if it's mounted in the lathe this way, it's 1, 2, 3. So you do counterclockwise for the order of the jaws. But there we go. That's cleaned up. Got the slight surface rust, or you know, that cleaned off, and it's moving much better. This is pretty basic. All of you can figure it out. These are pretty simple components as far as the pieces that come with it, but you got to maintain them and take them apart and clean them, and I thought I would share that with you. Thanks for watching, everybody.